Hi, this is Mark Tibb speaking. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, I'm sure a lot of you who already know Tyson Fury's recent statements on, firstly, why he didn't fight in December and the whole Anthony Joshua situation, frustration. And I'm sure some people will be saying, well, Tyson Fury is looking for a way out of the fight, or he's looking for excuses in case he loses to Anthony Joshua, etc., etc. So I'm going to cover as much of it as I possibly can, okay? Because I don't think that Tyson Fury is looking to avoid Joshua, and I don't think that he's looking to make up excuses if he loses to Joshua. But we're going to cover all of it anyway, okay? So Tyson Fury, he starts off with why he didn't box in December. As we know, he was supposed to have taken on either Carlos Takam or Ajit Cabial. It was officially announced Tyson Fury would fight in December, just waiting for an opponent, okay? So we're going to kick off from there. This is what Tyson Fury had to say. It was just a big mess up. I should have boxed because I've been so inactive. By the time I fight again, maybe in June, if Joshua fight happens, that'll be a year and 6 months out, which is not ideal preparation for any super fight. They've had a full year to make the Anthony Joshua fight happen, and it hasn't happened as of yet. We're no further forward than we were a year ago. It's got to happen sooner or later, but Top Rank has to give me 2 fights this year. I don't care who. Tyson Fury's statement. Now, as we know, most of you know, and if you don't know, I'll tell you, this fight's pretty much a done deal now. Okay, so I think he's playing a bit of a game here in the sense of knock people's hopes down a little bit, so when it does get announced, it boosts everybody up. Because at the minute, people are just expecting the announcement, so therefore the boom probably won't be as much as if you think, oh, maybe this fight isn't going to happen, then suddenly, yay, it is. Okay, so I think maybe he's playing that game from one angle. But when we go back to why he didn't fight in December, why didn't he fight Ajit Cabial? Why didn't he fight Carlos Takam? As Tyson Fury says there, it was just a bit of a mess up, and I should have boxed. Now, there's multiple ways of looking at it. Firstly, as I said before, it was officially announced, so he did have a fight date. He did have a venue. As far as we're aware, it was going to be Ajit Cabial. If it wasn't going to be Ajit Cabial, it's going to be Carlos Takam. Now, these are two fighters that were okay fights for him, but I think that he shouldn't have had too much problem with either one of those opponents. Would that have then made him an inactive fighter? Sure, from one perspective, but we're not in normal times, okay? We're in very, very different times where fights are going on, especially in this country, with zero crowd. So what's the difference between fighting in an arena against Carlos Takam or Ajit Cabial to fighting in your gym against a Carlos Takam or Ajit Cabial or whoever you want? You can have as many fights as you want. All you got to do is wear 10-ounce gloves and no head guard. Have your trainer in the corner, your opponent over there with his trainer, and both of you trying to win the fight. What's really the difference? You could say, well, because it's on TV and the other ones. No, it makes no difference because when you're in the ring, you can't see yourself on TV. You can't hear the commentary team. The only thing you can hear is your trainer. That's the only thing you can hear because there's no crowd. So what's really the difference between fighting in an arena to fighting in your gym? There's no real difference. Of course, there is something on the line. His belt, should he get knocked out, for example, sure, he loses his belt to Carlos Takam or Ajit Cabial. Okay, sure. There's that on stake. So I do understand you can't really totally replicate a fight night experience. But I think because of the lack of crowd, you can almost replicate it at the minute because you can hear a pin drop in these places, okay? But he should have fought. Why didn't he fight? Well, again, we can look at Bob Arum and Frank Warren's reason as to why he didn't fight. Finances. That was their answer. Finances. So quite clearly, Tyson Fury was demanding X amount of money to have a fight. They're saying, but the money isn't really there for me to be paying you this amount, plus your opponent, plus the undercard. We can put it on BT Sport pay-per-view, we can put it on ESPN, but it's not going to draw the kind of numbers that would probably cover your wages on this one. And that's the truth of it, because, and rightfully so, Tyson Fury should get paid very, very well. He's a WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Ring Magazine heavyweight champion of the world, and lineal, if you put stock into that one. So yes, he deserves to be paid. But he's not the kind of pay-per-view draw that Anthony Joshua is. Anthony Joshua can fight any of these guys and do huge numbers. That's the facts of it, and I don't like saying it because I'm a massive fan of Tyson Fury equally as much as Anthony Joshua, but that's the facts of it. He can't fight an Ajit Cabial or a Carlos Takam and do stupid amounts of numbers like Joshua would. That's the fact of it, okay? I know some Tyson Fury fans won't want hearing it, but you can't change what the facts are. And it is what it is. But again, we can look at it the other way from another business perspective, is that he signed a 5-fight deal with ESPN for $100 million. 5 fights. He's had 3 of those fights already. Tom Schwartz, Otto Wallin, and then Deontay Wilder rematch. So now he's got 2 fights left. Do you really think if you're ESPN and Top Rank, knowing you've got a fighter here with 2 fights left on his contract, do you really want him to fight Carlos Takam or Aja Cabiel and then go fight Anthony Joshua? Because what about the rematch of Anthony Joshua? Because then your fighter is no longer contracted to you. He can go elsewhere. No, what you want to do if you're Top Rank and ESPN is have those 2 fights against Anthony Joshua, right? Because these are the 2 fights that's going to generate more money than any other fight out there for him. So again, it's a business reason, isn't it? Of course it is. Now, we're going to move on to the fact that he says that by the time he fights Anthony Joshua, it will be 18 months out, so a year and 6 months out, which is not ideal preparation for any super fight. And he's absolutely correct. It's not ideal preparation. But as I said, you can have these fights in the gym. You really can. Because of the lack of crowd, you can do that. So inactivity, I don't know why some people seem to put a lot of emphasis on inactivity. Of course, it does kill careers. I know it does. And it does cost a lot of people certain fights. When you're used to fighting in front of a crowd, but during these times, as I said earlier on this video, there are no crowds. So you can be active. You just fight in the gym. Okay? So for me, I don't buy into that one whatsoever. At all. Because had he have fought in London on the BT Sports show, whatever it may be, there's going to be no crowd anyway. So it makes no difference. It really makes no difference. And again, what's the difference between him taking 2.5 years out of the ring and just doing a complete 6 month worth of fat camp? Let's be honest, let's call it exactly how it is. A 6 month fat camp to fight Tyson Fury, the second best Albanian cruiserweight, and then go fight journeyman in Francisco Pianeta before he got in there with Deontay Wilder. Do you really think Tyson Fury and Francisco Pianeta were good preparation for a Wilder? Of course not. Tyson is the kind of guy who can quite literally get off the sofa and perform. That's what Tyson Fury does. So for me, I don't buy into it when he talks about inactivity and this, that, and the other. But of course, how some people will take this one is, if you're a Tyson Fury fan, and a fanatical one, of course, you will go, well, he beats Anthony Joshua. Yeah, see, we told you, Anthony Joshua, he ain't nothing. He's a stiff idiot, yada, yada, yada. Anthony Joshua, he ain't nothing. Tyson Fury, he's king, as we've always said, long live the king, yada, yada, yada. Anthony Joshua beats him. There's a built-in excuse right there. Well, it's 18 months out of the ring. Bollocks. Absolute rubbish. I don't want to hear that at all. Okay, I really don't want to hear it. Now, as far as he's saying that the fight with Anthony Joshua is no further forward, well, it is further forward. We know it is further forward. I've told you, it's further forward, okay? This fight is done. It's done. We're literally just waiting for the official announcement. Okay, so him saying it's not done and we're no further forward than what we were a year ago. Well, they are, firstly. But also, if we want to look at it realistically, they haven't had a year to get this fight done. Because within that year, he was supposed to have fought Deontay Wilder. Wilder, he allowed the contract to expire. He was messing about with the contract and everything. So again, Team Joshua are not going to negotiate with Team Fury in case Fury doesn't win the rematch. As much as we all believe that, of course, he'd handle Wilder no problem whatsoever. But there's always a risk, isn't there? Okay. Anthony Joshua also had a fight with Kubrat Pulev as well. Well, what if Kubrat Pulev knocked out Anthony Joshua or beat Anthony Joshua on points, whatever it may be? Complete waste of time, isn't it? Even Bob Arum was saying there's no way Anthony Joshua is going to beat Kubrat Pulev. This is Bob Arum on Team Fury's side, isn't it? He's Tyson Fury's US-based promoter. So they haven't had a year to negotiate this fight. Granted, they agreed between Fury and Joshua the money a long time ago, 50-50 split for the first fight. In a rematch, the winner from the first fight gets 60%, loser gets 40%. As far as finances go, that's it. Everything else, why does it take so long? I have absolutely no idea. None whatsoever. Of course, there's legal contracts, you've got sponsorships, you've got to get the venue, you've got to get all this kind of stuff. So for me, I think a lot of these people deliberately string things out to make them far more complicated than what they really need to be. Really, I do. There's no reason in the world why this fight shouldn't have just been done and dusted a long time ago, to be honest with you. How complicated can it possibly be? It can't be. It seems like the only real stumbling blocks that have come along is the fact that Tyson Fury wants it to be promoted across the world as Fury versus Joshua. Tyson Fury wants to walk out to the ring second as champion. Quite why that's important to him, I have absolutely no idea. But as Joshua said before, he doesn't mind walking out first. He doesn't mind. He doesn't care. So, again, that's not really going to be a problem. So what's the hold-up? I have absolutely no idea whatsoever. Maybe the hold-up is something to do with the fact, and one of the reasons why maybe they haven't gone too in-depth and they've been taking the time a little bit is because they weren't entirely sure what was happening with this whole Wilder situation. Because obviously he was taking it to arbitration and this, that and the other. I know Bob Arum said to me a couple of weeks ago that Wilder has no leg to stand on. But, I mean, I believe Bob Arum. I don't think Wilder has a leg to stand on. I think I'm just using a bit of common sense on that one. But ultimately, how do I really know? Maybe Bob Arum is just saying this to try and keep the fans on side. Maybe behind closed doors, it is a bit of a mess, as Tyson Fury says. Is that the mess that Tyson Fury was saying as to why he didn't box in December? Does it have something to do with Wilder? But we were told it's to do with finances. Who knows? Who really knows? But no, I know some people, if you're anti-Tyson Fury, maybe you'll look to, oh, he's ducking Anthony Joshua, he don't want to fight, he's looking for excuses, or yada, yada, yada. Or if you're a fanatical Tyson Fury fan, you'll say, well, see, they've had a whole year to do it. Anthony Joshua, he don't want the fight, he's ducking it, he's making it all difficult. Pack it in, the lot of you. Okay, just pack it in, the lot of you. Fury wants this fight. Joshua wants this fight. That's it. Everything else should just fall into place. But unfortunately, things that we don't get to know about are happening behind the scenes. That's probably why it's taken so long. Whereas for me, it looks pretty straightforward. They've agreed the money. Just put the fight on. What's complicated about it? But you know what? I'm sure there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes than what we know. And of course, if you're a Deontay Wilder fanatical fan and you're an uploader, well, see, we told you, it's the fact that he can't get out of the Deontay Wilder fight, yada, 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 legal, legal, legal. So why do they do that? So they can keep on making videos, even though it's a complete lie. Anyway, my thoughts, you drop me yours, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you on the next video.